introduction about Techcanvass before we start the session today. We are an IT certification training organization for mid-level professionals. Being an authorized training center for IIBA and ISQI, we are authorized to conduct the certification courses like CBAP, CCBA, CCBA, CABA, and AAC, that is Agile Analysis Certification. We also provide multiple domain trainings into banking, finance, healthcare, and many others. And we have recently launched courses on data analytics and Power BI and Tableau. Alright, so now let me introduce you to our today's speaker as well, Mr. Satish. Satish is a CBAP version 3 certified with around 10 years of experience working on large system implementation projects across verticals like core banking, telecommunication, global mobility solutions, and software license management. He has worked with multiple Fortune 500 clients. Alright, so thanks everyone. I would like to request Satish now to begin the session. Satish, over to you.
Thank you, Brajesh, for the introduction. First and foremost, I would like to welcome you all for this open webinar. So you guys would have checked the email, right? So for this webinar, we don't have any agenda as such. For the next 1 hour, we'll be discussing about CCBA and CBAP certification, and especially the special focus is towards the scenario-based question. So my intention is to help you equip you that, if there is a scenario-based question, how to approach those questions, and what is the strategy that you need to employ. So I'm ready to help you guys in acing the CCBA and CBAP certification. So let's get started. So before you start your certification journey, I'm sure the reason why most of you have joined this webinar is to understand about CCBA and CBAP certification. And I've completed my CCBA in the year 2015 and CBAP recently in 2019. So I believe I'll be the right guy, and I still have my students who are giving the certification every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. There is somebody who is giving the CBAP certification. So I'm quite aware about from their experiences. I'm collating all their experiences, and I'll be able to share the most useful tips for your exam preparation. So I'm straight away getting into the topic. So as you guys know, the only book that is needed to clear the certification is Bebop version 3. So almost all the questions which you get in both CCBA and CBAP, it will be based out of Bebop version 3. So if you guys are preparing for the certification, just try to get hold of that PDF. So once you become an IIBA member, you will be able to download it. But I believe this this PDF is the only book that is needed. You need not refer any other guides or books or anything. And starting with your preparation, there are many folks who are asking me that's like a 500 pages book. So where do I start? How do I start? So from the exam perspective, right from chapter 2 till chapter 10. So these all things are very important, right from chapter 2 to chapter 10. Perspectives is like the only chapter which you can skip. So perspectives, you can completely skip reading it, because not even a single question will come from that particular chapter. So other chapters are very important. And how do you go about with your preparation? I believe most of you are already, I'm not sure whether you started your CCBA CBAP journey or whether you're thinking about it. So the way how I'm going to plan my session is that I'm going from the beginner level and also till those folks who are at the final lap. So I'll include everything which I can share with you guys. I'm ready to share. So there are 6 knowledge areas in Bebop. Ideally, the way how IIBA structured Bebop is in such a way that right from the beginning of the project, right from the business case till solution evaluation, that is finally the solution goes to the production. So the way how you will have to plan is that when you do your initial reading in Bebop, start with the flow which is there in Bebop. So there are folks who start with solution evaluation and then later go to BAPM because they just look at the number of pages and that's how they start their preparation. Please don't do that. Rather, don't look at the total number of pages. Don't look at the this chapter would be easy because I'll be able to relate, because there are many folks who are coming from the testing background and they feel that solution evaluation chapter is very easy as they can easily relate. But to me, and from the experiences of many folks who have already cleared the certification, my 2 cents is that I want you to, my recommendation is that like go with the flow which is mentioned in the Bebop. You will have to start with BAPM and then elicitation, and then you will have to continue the flow. The reason why I'm asking you that is to go in the flow is that in Bebop, the way how they have written, I mean, the authors, I mean, especially the authors are like those folks who have cleared CBAP. So if you have cleared CBAP and if you have some sizable years of BA experience, then you can also contribute to the you can also contribute some particular knowledge area. You can contribute your article, and once it is approved, it will be available in Bebop version 4. So those folks, the way how they've written is that you can see that there is a pattern. That is the outputs of the first knowledge area, that is BAPM. There will be some outputs like BA approach, stakeholder engagement approach. So those outputs can be the input for the next knowledge area. So that is a golden tip which you have to remember. If you are reading any of the knowledge area, if there is a task like task 1, task 2, task 3, 80% of the cases, the task 1 output will be the input for task 2. So that is like a easy thing for you guys to easily remember also. And when you are reading it, only when you start. So BAPM is like the first stage whenever you're starting a new project. Ideally, it all starts with a business case, BA approach, and everything, right? So once you start reading from the first, it can help you during your preparation. So you will be able to connect all the dots. The reason why I'm telling you is that, like, if you're reading without any, if you're keeping without any strategy, or like without, you just think that like I'm just going to read it blindly, I will tell you this book is quite boring and you will feel lost because the same word project and stakeholder will be like getting repeated multiple times, and you may feel that like this is like you will feel that like you're lost in a maze. So in order to avoid all that, my recommendation is when you start reading BAPM, so try to relate almost 80% of what is there in the Bebop. We don't do it in our real world IT projects. So it will be completely new to you and you will be wondering, oh, is there is a process like this or is there a technique like this? So my recommendation is like when you start reading any of the knowledge area in Bebop, first thing which you have to do is like you will have to visualize that you're doing it. So once you visualize, high chances wherein you will be, I don't recommend memorizing anything because that is not the right practice. There are folks who memorize it like all the 500 pages they will try to memorize, and they, if you ask them anything, if you ask them to explain something, then they are like completely clueless. So my intention is that like you should not memorize any of the knowledge areas or anything. The only, maybe you can, to an extent you can memorize the input and output, but that also, if you are like reading it in a story fashion, you need not memorize, because the very moment when you see the word BAPM, you should know that BAPM has the only input should be needs, because that's how the story starts. So the point I'm making is, yeah, if you belong to that group, when you feel that like when I'm reading Bebop I'm feeling lost, or like Bebop is too boring, my only recommendation for you guys is that start visualization, because visualization can help you in understanding the concepts better. And whenever you're reading any particular scenario in Bebop, try to see that if it can be incorporated in your current project, that is the project which you're working in. Can I introduce this technique, can I introduce this scenario? And if you can visualize, in that way you can reduce your reading. So maybe one time you read and you visualize, okay, in my current project I'm implementing it, your job is 50% done, because more you visualize, more the things will be clear to you. So you may know like what are the challenges that can come, or like what can be the disadvantages, everything you can think about it. And so if you get any scenario based question, you will be able to answer. So for difference between okay, so let me give you a statistics. So I got to know this from multiple sources that like the pass percentage for CCBA is around 53 percentage. That is Out of 10 folks, only 5 folks will be able to clear. And the pass percentage for CBAP, I mean on the first attempt, and pass percentage for CBAP is only around 40 to 50%. The reason why many folks are not able to clear the certification is because they are not prepared. And the second thing which I have felt is like there are two types of exams. So, I mean, if you take any certification, there are two types of certification. The first type is knowledge based. So knowledge based certification, what you have to do is like there will be a PDF or I mean just like ISTQB or any other certification or maybe SAP. So all you have to do is like there are some resource materials or study materials. You will have to study it completely, and the questions will be based out of it, and you will be able to answer. Even our Scrum Master certifications and PSPO, product owner certifications, wherein you need not think anything out of the box. So if you have if you have read the guide, you will be able to answer. So that test only your knowledge. The second type of questions examination will be the competency based. So this IIBA certification will come under the competency, wherein they want you to read and they also want you to think. I mean, if you're applying that concepts, how I mean, they completely want you to think on that lines. So CCBA, 90% of the questions will be directly from the book, 10% of the questions will be like a little bit scenario based, but CBAP, 50 to 60% of the questions will be scenario based. So for instance, let me give you a clue. So what do you mean by scenario based question? So in CCBA, the question can be, what can be the input for plan BA approach? So it will be a direct question, maybe a one line question, and there will be 4 options. The same question, when it comes in CBAP, it can be a paragraph. So they may say that like Tom is a business analyst working in Acme Corporation. Tom just joined the project recently, and Matthew is his sponsor. So Tom was going through the project documents in order to understand. So they will give you a context, and in that context they will tell you indirectly that the task is going to be plan B approach. That is, you will have to unearth from that question like what could be that they are asking. So more you practice, you will be able to find out the pattern. So in between, when you go through the paragraph, you will know that like plan B approach is what he's doing. So that is that if you go through those description, you will understand, okay, he's doing that plan B activity. And then they will ask you, imagine that you're Tom. So what would be your recommendation, or what will you choose from those? What will you choose as an input? So the same one-line question which you see in CCBA is like will be converted into a paragraph in scenario-based question. So I can give you a lot of examples. So maybe in the later part of the session, I can introduce you to like scenario-based questions, like what kind of questions you can expect. And so I told you about visualization. I told you about like this is a competency based. Yeah. And one major reason why many folks are not able to clear the examination is the first attempt is because of their overconfidence. There are folks with 20 years of experience, BA experience, who are not able to clear CBAP. And there are folks with 5 years of experience who are able to clear. So if you try to find out the pattern, I'll clearly tell you is because of overconfidence. So those with 20 years of experience, they think that like I'll be able to answer any question directly, any scenario based question I'll be able to answer. And the folks who had prepared those question bank, they know that like these folks will choose only that particular option. So out of 4 options, 2 options will be closely related to the real world scenarios, and 2 options will be related to Bebop. So IIBA wants you to choose, no matter whatever scenario it is, they don't want you to choose something that you will do it in your real world. So you guys know, right? In real world, we don't follow any templates, we don't follow any process. We are like every organization, if you look at any organization, right, nothing is standardized. Every organization have their own. Few of organizations use RTM. Few organizations, they don't even use RTM. Few organizations use a story. You will not see even acceptance criteria, because the way how the business analysis is performed in organization, there is no standard at all. Every organization have their own style, and some organizations are strict, some organizations are lenient, and I will not blame the organization. The blame is on the BA, because the way how the senior BA has started, maybe the junior BAs also will follow the same thing. So the point which I am making is, the reason why many folks are not able to clear the certification at first attempt is because of their overconfidence. They don't go with the version which is there in the Bebop. So in Bebop, if that is clearly specified that this is the process which you have to follow, in the exam, if that scenario is presented to you, IIBA wants you to choose the right answer, which according to Bebop is like what is mentioned in the Bebop. So you cannot just simply say like if project manager is on leave, can I be a scrum master? If that kind of question comes, normally you will say yeah, I can. I'll click on yes. You will click on yes because in real world that can be possible. But as per Bebop, the BA cannot be a scrum master. So there are a lot of hidden assumptions and references which they have mentioned in the book. So that is the reason why folks with 20 years of experience they fail CBAP is because of their preconceived notion. So when you start your certification preparation, this is a golden, I'll say this is a pro tip. Whatever you know about business analysis, please keep it aside because that if you bank on that, you will not be able to clear your certification at all. Whatever you know about business analysis, keep it aside. Open the book and read it with a fresh view and a fresh mind. Imagine that like you are implementing that in your current project. So in that case, your probability to clear the certification will be more. So that is something which you will not find that information anywhere. And there are those folks who think that like they'll be able to clear the certification within 2 readings, 3 readings, banking on their BA experience. I'll tell you, it's like 0% probability to clear the certification without reading Bebop. 0%, because only when you read Bebop 3 or 4 times, now sometimes there are folks who are read 20, 30 times also in order to clear the certification. And how many times you have to read Bebop? I don't know, because every person is like unique and every person's intellectual capacity is different. For me, if it is 2 times, 3 times reading, there will be somebody who is smarter than me who just need 1 time. And there are folks who maybe like a little bit, they may need at their own free time, they may need 20, 30 times. So nobody can tell you like, nobody can handhold you and tell you like, this is what is method. And if you guys talk to those folks who cleared, you guys will be surprised because there'll be no pattern, because there'll be somebody who prepared for 2 years and cleared, there'll be somebody who prepared for 2 months, and I know somebody who cleared the certification in 3 days of preparation, for just 3 days. So everything, it all depends upon the person, how much effort you're putting and whether your mind is ready to like see, that also plays a point. So you cannot just see if you I don't know, okay, I'm not talking about it more, just try to learn about Bloom's taxonomy. So if you know that like what kind of person you are, whether you are the person who can read through kinesthetic or something, that, so that is like altogether I can talk about that topic for 1 hour, but right now I'm not talking about it. But try to find out like what type of learning you're capable of, whether you'll be able to read all those abstract text, or like you love to, instead your mind will be able to process all those diagrams in a diagrammatic way if you are able to understand. So those all things really matter. So and your commitments and other deliverables also play an important role. So now I believe most of you guys are like already thought about giving the certification. Now let me go back. So the next thing which you guys need to know is like during, as part of your certification, I guess maybe just 1 minute I'll give you an introduction about the application. So application, you need to have minimum of 3,750 hours, and that is over the last 7 years. And for those folks, 7,500 hours. So to be candid, you can put an average of 1,000 to 1,200 hours per year. So in that case, you need minimum 4 years of experience to go for CCBA and minimum 6 years of experience in order to go for CBAP. So this is about the cost, membership fee, application fee, and exam fees. And this is about the coverage. So this slide is very important because if you see average of, there'll be around 130 questions for CCBA and 120 questions for CBAP. And if you guys see the coverage, you can see that like all the 6 knowledge areas. There is no special mention about techniques, but technique is something which you guys can expect as part of the knowledge area. So technique is not something that is different. It is part of the knowledge area. So along with knowledge area plus technique, this is the percentage. So this is like a rough cut, but I believe IIBA is following the same thing. So I got maximum number of questions in RADD chapter, and other knowledge areas on average 15 to 20 questions. So one more pro tip I give you, there are folks who concentrate on the first 4 knowledge areas, they read it completely and they skip reading. They will say that like I need not go through this because I'll be able to score the complete marks in it. There is no publicly available data the way how they are scoring. So out of 130 questions, even if you get 80 questions, you can fail. if you get 60 questions, maybe 70 questions right, you may pass. So I will tell you the way how they are. This data is not official, so nobody knows, nobody can tell you like what could be the right, but based on many assumptions and based on those folks who had to reattempt. So many folks who were not able to clear, I went through their scorecard and I found out one interesting pattern. I'll be sharing it to you shortly. So now, when you are preparing, you have to give equal attention to all the 6 knowledge areas, because equal attention is very important. But special attention you will have to give on this particular chapter. Even for CBAP folks, you can see 30% of the questions will come, whereas rest all knowledge area average of 15 questions. So special attention. So this chapter is like, if you're reading it for 2 hours, this chapter alone you will have to read it for 4 hours, because most number of questions can come from that chapter. And it is like 130 questions and it is going to take 3 hours, and for CBAP it will be 120 questions with 3.5 hours. And from maybe I will say it is not that time consuming, because many folks have told me that like they are able to complete the examination within 2 hours. And for CBAP also, I completed the examination within 1.5 hours, but there are folks who took 3.5 hours. So that's how you plan it. So I'll also give some pro tips on like in the actual exam day, how do you go about this 3.5 hours? Because last 2 weeks, I had some 3 or 4 folks who gave the examination. They felt that like questions were quite tough. Yeah. And I noticed that trend recently also. So till December, many folks were able to clear, but from Jan, I don't know, like that percentage is coming down. Maybe this is just my assumption, I'm not sure, because from Jan 2020, earlier till December, we need to go to the test center and give the certification. Even before the COVID, IIBA thought about this proctored examination. So from Jan 2020 onwards, you can give the examination from the comfort of your home. So maybe because of that, I'm not sure whether they have changed the question bank, because most of the folks are like, even CCBA folks were saying that like the question is like most of the questions are not direct there, it is scenario based question. So anyway, that is not going to deter you from your preparation. You have already decided that you're going to write the certification. So at no point of time you guys need not take it all in, but this information is going to equip you to like put your preparation. So now if you understand that the question bank is a little bit tough, so put that to extra 20% effort. And CBAP is like a scenario-based question. I told you 50 to 60% questions will be scenario-based, and at the later part of the session, I'll introduce you to like what is scenario-based questions and what should be your approach. Okay, now let me show you the result. Yeah, this is how you get your scorecard. You will not know like what is the pass percentage, like whether I have to score 80, 90. There is no logic in 80, 90. So you can see all the 6 knowledge areas here. You will come under uh, average, good, and best. So if you're scoring somewhere, so out of imagine each knowledge area have around 15 questions, sorry 20 questions, and knowledge area 4 alone, if you're able to score around there are around 40 questions. So if the score is lower, that means you have scored less than 50 percentage. So if you are able to score less than 50 percentage, then in that case your tag will be lower. And if you get too lower in any 2 knowledge areas, you may have to reattempt. But there are some special cases. So if you get too lower and too higher, that can get compensated. But if most of those folks reported that they got lower in 2 or 3 knowledge areas. So if you're getting lower in 2 knowledge areas and other 3 knowledge areas, if you get higher also, you will have to reattempt. So this logic is not publicly available. Nobody can comment. But my recommendation is that like try to get around 60 to 70 percentage in all the knowledge areas. So if you are getting 60 to 70 percentage, I mean, if you're able to answer 60 to 70% questions in all the knowledge areas, you are on the safer side. And if you are able to score 80 plus, then you will go under the higher category. So this is how you get your score result. So IIBA put special emphasis on all the 6 knowledge areas. So if you get too lower continuously, that's it. You will have to reattempt with pay another $250 and you will have to reattempt. So this is something which you guys need to keep in mind. And I'll talk about my exam experiences. Maybe once let me introduce you to that question. So this is the preparation plan I had come up with. As you can see, week 1, I'm trying to do the eligibility check and submitting my application. And then week 2 to 4, you need to attend training from any of the IIBA endorsed training providers. So that is something that is very much mandatory. You cannot skip this. Only when you attend the training, you will be eligible to submit your application, because IIBA will ask you like which training you attended. And if your application goes for an audit, they will ask you for the proof also, wherein you have to submit all the proofs that you attended those training. And you need to, week 2 to 5, you're starting with your preparation, maybe 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, you're reading it. And sixth week, the importance of mock exam is very important. Just like that, you cannot just give the examination, because mock exams is something that is going to test your understanding. And I told you, this book, the exam is not something that they will ask you the questions directly. All the questions will be quite indirect, so you can check like whether you completely understood that particular scenario, and whether your mind is able to process that information and give you the response within 2 minutes, because you have 3.5 hours and 130 questions. So maximum you will have to take only 2 minutes per question. So in that case, when you give mock, you will be able to understand whether your brain is able to process all that information, or like are you feeling it mentally taxing. Everything you can be able to find out like when you give the mock exams. And week 7, you can try to find out your areas of improvement based on your mock score. So if you're scoring 70% above in your mock scores, then you're good, then you can go and register your examination. But if you're scoring less than 70%, my recommendation is please don't uh, don't book your examination, because if you're not able to score 70%, then in that case you will have to again revise most of the concepts. And week 8 and 9, you will have to do the final revision, and week 10. So this is something I told you, right? This is something I thought maybe for anybody this 10 weeks is more than enough to clear, but this would change based on your personal commitments, work commitments, everything. This would get changed. I'll come back to this later. Now let me introduce you to like what kind of questions. So this is like once you enroll for Techcanvass course, right? So we do provide both classroom, online, and those folks who want specifically the question bank access also, we provide you. So if you click on CBAP question bank, right? If you enroll for CBAP question bank, you get access to some 800 plus questions. So all 800 plus questions are similar to that of IIBA standards, and which were prepared by those folks who cleared the certification. So they, based on the questions, it's not the actual questions, similar kind of questions which you can expect. So based on, they are the authors who prepared this question. So now let me show you some sample questions. Just a second. So in order to help you understand, just a second, go back to the home screen. So this is the question bank wherein you can see these many questions. You for warm-up questions for each of the knowledge area is listed here, and you can also configure with along with the time duration each of the questions, and you get access to case study based questions. So in actual exam you get around 40 around not 40, yeah, 40 questions. So 40 means 6 case study based questions. Here you get access to around 28 uh, 28 case studies you can access. So each case study will have around 4 or 5 questions. So in that case you can practice around 100 case study based questions. So these are all the case study based. This is how you, but here you see only 2, 3 or 4 paragraphs, but in actual exam this can go for 3 or 4 pages also. So let me one second. Okay, so now let's do a small testing in order to see the intent of this meeting is to help you understand like what kind of questions. So this is more of like an open session. So what I'll do is like I'll now present few of the questions, and I would want you to like tell me like which could be the right option, and also I want you guys to tell me like why did you choose that particular option. So maybe I'll start with the knowledge area strategy analysis. So this is like the 100%. I am confident that like this is a, the same question can repeat, or the you can expect the same kind of question, build versus cost, because almost everybody have told me like this question is getting repeated. So wherein you will have to do some mathematical calculation with both the license cost and support charges. That would take, this would be a time consuming. So I'm just going to the next question. But this kind of, you can expect at least 10 questions which is mathematical, wherein, and mathematics doesn't mean that you need to know any formulas and all. Mathematical questions are quite easy. It is just normal addition, subtraction, and average, simple interest, those kind of things. And especially return on investment calculation, there'll be at least 10 questions wherein you have to use the online calculator. So this is one type of question that is like 100% probability for CBAP. Let me go to the next question because now this calculation is going to take time. One second, let me. Okay, so this is also, I guess I'll skip this. I'll show something else. Yeah. So what do you guys think? What would be the answer here? You guys can mute or you guys can use the chat option. So let me see if you can see this chat option. Anyone wants to take a guess?
The last one?
I think B part, the company will try to transfer the risk to one of the vendor.
Okay, why?
I think risk is very high. So if team is not able to take that risk, it's better to transfer the risk in order to mitigate it at some sort of level.
Okay, and someone wanted to go with option D. The reason why you wanted to go with that?
Yeah, this is the least likely response of the stakeholders, right? So, so either we mitigate the risk or transfer the risk, but the last one says that we accept and continue with the risks along with the mitigation plan. So
cool. Yeah, so you paid special attention to this word, right? What should be the least likely response? So whenever you read this question, at least you can get at least 6 to 7 questions that can be confusing in the actual exam. You will have to look that like they play with this word. So now it is the least likely response. So pay special attention to the word least. So there is option.
Yes, that is.
Reason why you're going with C?
It's because all of the options are mentioned in the Bible except the C.
Okay, so let's see that I got B, C, and D. Is there anyone who wants to go with A? So it will be complete then. Okay, let's see. Check. I'm going with C. I have no clue. Let's see. Perfect. So choice A is incorrect. That's we know since we'll not do brainstorm after that happening. So choice B is incorrect because transferring the risk is one of the ways to resist the risk and it is not the likely approach. So they are asking for the least likely response. So transferring the risk is a type of a response. So this is like choice C, wherein you check with the contingency plan is like the most unlikely response as it does not do anything to mitigate the high impact risk. So the mitigation plan will help in minimizing the impact and avoiding the risk. So in that case, the least likely response is the contingency plan. Rest all are like something which you will do at that stage. So this is why I told you guys, whenever you're reading any question, I mean, this is just an example for you guys to be prepared. They will try to confuse you. They will give you all the 3 options and very moment when I read the question, it's not only you. The very moment when I read the question, I automatically click on the option. Then first I ask myself because 90% that will be the wrong option. I mean, in that case, then I'll ask, okay, what is the question? Okay, they're asking about least likely response. So I'll try to analyze from a least likely response. Then I'll try to eliminate all the options. Then I'll choose the right one. So this is the first tip which I wanted to give you guys. The question is not going to be easy. Question is not going to be direct. If it is like a straightforward question, you will have to ask yourself 2 or 3 times. Will this question will be that easy wherein they are going to ask me straightforward like this is what? If that question is like if you get any type of question, spend some 30 seconds to understand like what is the hidden assumption or like what is the hidden agenda behind that question author. So here the hidden agenda was least likely and all the options, they will put all those options in order to confuse you. So let me now go to the next question. And what do you guys think here? So this is a scenario based question because you have this like what will be the first step Rajesh should be taking in this case. So in this case, it is a scenario based question which you can see for CBAP. So in that case, they want you to think from Rajesh shoes, what would be the next step?
Second one? Yeah.
The reason why?
Yes, second one, I think.
Yes, because that's the first step, right? To analyze the current state. I mean, amongst all the options, it seems like, yeah.
So this is strategy analysis, and you guys know the first task is ACS, analyze current state. Let's check whether it is right or wrong. Anyone have any other versions, any other suggestions? Perfect. Let's go to the next question. So if it is this is a CBAP question, so that's the reason you get it in this form. If it is a CCBA, then instead of to analyze current state, they will clearly write down the name like analyze current state, define future state, assess risk. So that will be like not presented in this way. It will be direct. Okay, once again a mathematical question. I'm just skipping it. Okay, how about this brainstorming? So it is like define change strategy.
Because I think B part to collaboratively come up with the ideas for the change strategy.
Okay.
I feel like it's the last one because brainstorming is usually coming up with a lot of ideas, not necessarily solutioning.
Good. I mean, that's a very good thought. So you guys need not concentrate on this particular line because here the question clearly talking about brainstorming. So now you will have to analyze. You will have to forget about strategy analysis and think about brainstorming. So what is the reason why you guys do brainstorming? Think from that lens because the question is not focusing on the change implementation approach or business process management approach because these data is not at all needed for us. So he's arranging a brainstorming session. Wow, at what scenario will you think about like doing a brainstorming session? So brainstorming session is all about creating new ideas, right? So when you need new ideas, you go about conducting a brainstorming session. So think in that lens. So this kind of question, I'll tell you, if you focus your time reading all this business process management or change management, so this is more of like, I would say sitter question because the author wants you to waste your time thinking about BPM change management and you will waste your time. Rather, the clever approach is you have to focus on the keyword. What is the reason behind using this method? So what is the method? Brainstorming. So now you will have to train your brain to think about like in which context can I use brainstorming? So I got option B and D. So anyone else? Anyone else with any other answer or any other view for option D or B? Come on, guys. This is the easiest. I mean, you will have to be candid, when you get this kind of question, you should not take 2 minutes. You should be able to answer the question within 30 seconds because there will be some questions with 4 or 5 paragraphs. So you will have to save your time for those type of questions. These all questions within 30 seconds you have to clear. This is not a CBAP question. This is a CCBA question.
I will go with B.
Okay, so majority is B. D, let's see. So the option B is the right answer. because brainstorming is all about coming up with the ideas. So whenever you see any option that is all about ideas, you will have to close your eyes and choose that option. Because in brainstorming, you don't give them like to choose valid options from multiple possible options. You are not going to give them 6 options and then choose which one is best. That exercise is workshop, or it can be review or anything. So brainstorming is always gathering new ideas. So there will be agenda. It's like you will tell them like, this is the problem, can you all please help me? So everybody will tell you the problems, so everybody will tell you the idea. So that's why brainstorming is all about ideas, because that's what it is mentioned in Bebop. In Bebop, you can say like brainstorming is the definition of brainstorming in Bebop is all about generation of new ideas. So whenever you see brainstorming, think about Bebop definition, generation of new ideas. Okay, close your eyes and choose this option. Simple. If you think that like possible options are valid options, then in that case, in brainstorming, you don't do anything. In brainstorming, it is like generation of new ideas, and you don't validate which idea is the best. So, are you guys now getting like what type of questions? Now, if you do a postmortem of all your questions, right, you guys will understand this is what, okay, this may be some 80 to 70% of the actual IABA question. The way how it will look like, I will not say this is 100%, this is how it will look like, but 60 to 70%, this is how they will ask you. So just imagine 100% now what type of complexity it can be. So let's go to the next question. Or maybe we'll go to some other knowledge area. So let's have a flavor of all the knowledge areas. 1 second. So this is an easy question, so I'm just skipping it. Okay. This is a CBAP question. Maximum 1 minute. It is all about root cause analysis. Okay, you guys are still taking time, but I mean, it's not that like I'll say all. Yeah.
I will go with the option B.
Okay. Can you tell? Okay. The person who gave me option B, I have a question. So you already did the root cause analysis and you found out all these things, and there is no issues with. When you are doing this root cause analysis itself, you would have already interacted, and brainstorming is done to collect ideas. So do you think once the problem is there, will you collect ideas, or you try to find out the problem?
Yeah, basically, why did I go with this option is so that analysis has happened just because of the technical issues. I mean, we try to find out. Maybe non-technical issues we would like to find out. However, the third option that Jolly should look non-solution issue or there does not seems to be technical issue, that is not a kind of confirmation. So maybe during the brainstorming session with the stakeholder, we might be able to get to know like if there is any operational issue or is there any cultural issue, something like that, or maybe some process got diverted. Maybe that reason to find out.
I think practically that might be the right thing, but I would go with option C because I think it talks about the enterprise limitation aspect of solution evaluation. So it talks about the enterprise.
Perfect. That is the one. That is what I wanted to. That point I wanted to take. The person who told me option B. Sorry, I'm not able to see your name here because in this screen since I'm sharing. Excuse me for that. I have no clue who is talking. So the person who gave me option B, you told me the answer that would work in real world context. In real world context, I will see this. I'll click on this option. I'll click on next. I'll go ahead. But now in Bebop, you have to know that like in Bebop, you analyze the root cause analysis and you found out that technical issues are not at all a problem. So as per this, assess solution limitations. Solution limitation is done. The next task is assess enterprise limitation. So when I look at assess enterprise limitations, I have to click on this option, which is non-technical issues. I'll click on this option. So you got it. So this is directly from the Bebop, where Bebop says assess solution limitations and assess enterprise limitations. It can be done parallelly. So once you find out like there is no problem with the solution, let me check what can be the non-technical issues. So you'll have to refer that particular chapter. I guess it is under assess enterprise limitations. It comes under RADD, yeah.
No, I think it comes under solution evaluation knowledge area.
Solution evaluation, yeah, requirement architecture, assess enterprise limitation. Yes, it comes under solution evaluation. Yes. So let's check. So she could conduct an analysis to check any enterprise or external issues. For example, over the period of time, the taste of audience may also change, resulting in loss of traffic. So this can be an assumption. So are you guys now getting a hang of like what kind of questions you can expect in the actual exam and way how they can confuse you? And you know what? These are like at least to an extent is okay, but in the actual exam, the way how they are going to confuse will be like completely of a different level. You will be like wondering like what type of question it is, like what do they want? Because all the options would be like you will feel all the options are right, but they will tell you like which option do you think will be more appropriate. So those kind of questions also you can expect. All the 4 options will be right, but the answer, the hidden question will be like, what do you think is the most appropriate response? So in that case, you will have to eliminate, like if this is 25% correct, this is 30% correct, this is 50% correct, this is 10% correct. Okay, I'll go with the one which is 50% correct. And even when you do the mathematical answer also, the value which you get, it will not be like the direct. So you may get 13.6. But if you look at the option, there will be like 13.6 will not be there. So you will have to go with 13.4 or 13.5. So that is approximate. So they are asking you to choose the approximate value only. So you can see if there is 13.4 or 13.5, you can go with that. So let's do one more question and then we'll look at the scenario based question. I mean the case study based question. I mean this is easy, so I'm just skipping it. This is also easy. Let's do something tough. So only then. Okay. How about this question? You're working on defining the performance measure. You will have to focus on the workshop technique. Only those folks who read the workshop technique, like what is the intent and agenda, you will be able to answer this.
Is it the last one?
Okay, the workshop session is not a technique. So what do you think is the right technique in order to validate performance measure? So can you tell me like what is the best technique for in order to validate performance measure? Okay, so let's see. No responses. Perfect.
Would that be metrics and KPI? That would be the validate performance metric?
Methods and KPI is the valid technique. Yes. Okay, guys. So let's see some scenario-based question. I mean, case study-based question. So let me show you. Maybe we'll take this modernization of insurance system in Agile. So here, if you see, you have a project brief, you have a problem description, you have a process flow, you have a business analysis approach. Business analysis must include deliverables. Again, a process flow diagram. So this is as is, and this is to be. So here, this is like if you scroll, it's going to be it's only one page. But in the actual exam, It can be for 2 pages or 3 pages also. So my first recommendation which I wanted to give you is that don't waste your time reading this, because if you are reading this, you will feel lost and you will simply kill your time. The best approach, which almost everybody who have like cleared the certification, I mean, from based on their experiences, first read the question. 80% of the cases, you will be able to answer the question without reading in the context. So first read the question, and only when you feel that like you're not able to understand anything about this, then you may skim and you will try to find out like if there is anywhere, if you are able to find out answer for this particular question. So now I have no clue, and even you guys have no clue about this project, but let's go to the question. So the client asked BAPL. So BAPL, I'll just check what is BAPL. So BAPL is about a company name, I guess. Yeah. So BAPL is a company name which is in charge for the development. So the client asked BAPL to assure that the application must not allow a closed claim to be reclaimed. That is like you are doing, okay, I understood that it is a closed claim. So this can be an insurance company. So when you are like closing a claim after paying it, it cannot be reclaimed. That somebody cannot again reclaim it showing the same claim. So this statement from client will be recorded by BAPL as what? Is it a business objective? It can be a epic, or it can be a user story, or it can be a business rule. Come on, guys. This is an easy question.
Business rule?
Why business rule? It can be also a user story, right? It can be in the form of a requirement. What is like, why are you saying that like it can be a business rule? What is the difference between a business rule and a requirement?
The requirement is the business need, whereas the business rule is the way that the solution operates, or the guidelines in which the solution has to operate under.
Perfect. The business, requirement is derived from the business need. Business rule is like there are two types of business rule. One is behavioral business rule, wherein something has to be enforced. We are strict about it, and there can be no, you will not show any leniency. So here the client is saying that like, but I don't think the thing application must not allow a closed claim to be reclaimed. I don't think so. This comes under business rule, because business rule, if you see a behavioral or definitional business rule, it has some specific template and format. Any other options, guys, other than business rule? Or you guys agree with business rule? Let's just check. Do you think
business rule?
Okay. So, do you think this will come under the business rule? So, if it is coming under the business rule, will it be part of definitional business rule or behavioral business rule?
Behavior?
I think behavior, because that indicates your day-to-day operation of your process and work. So I think that would be behavioral business rule.
Okay. So most of you are going with business rule. Let's check.
The user story.
So the problem with most of us is like we will think, okay, it is something that comes from the business, but this is a requirement, because I told you, right, business rule will be more, it gives you more details, like in this logic, you have to do this, it will be more detailed. So here they're saying you don't allow anybody to reclaim. That's it, simple. So this is just a requirement. So user story represents a small statement of functionality or quality needed to deliver value to a specific stakeholder. You guys agree, right? As high as 70% of the people end up in dilemma between business rule and user story. Whereas
Actually,
business rule...
what value bring to the stakeholder for this statement?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
What value brings to the specific stakeholder for this statement? Because he mentioned it here. You mentioned the explanation say that a user story represent blah blah, or need to deliver value to a specific stakeholder. What is the value?
The value is that like if this is like you will be recording it as a user story, and once you are writing the user story, you will provide detailed information you will put some acceptance criteria wherein, okay, what value does it bring? Maybe I would say folks who have already claimed will not be able to claim it again, so that I may say it will have a financial impact wherein you can avoid any false claims. So those can be the business value. And here it is saying that like it will be recorded as a user story. And while you're writing the user story, you can come up with the acceptance criteria, wherein scenario 1 you take any close claim and you will do a validation whether the system is processing or not. So if it is a business rule, you guys need to pay special attention, because a business rule will be more detailed and it will give you a scenario that is like orders passed within 3 years, 3 months, 4 months. So it will be more detailed. So keep a close eye for business rule related questions, because I got this question in my CBAP. So I know that like this question can repeat, because business rule is an easy way wherein they can confuse you. And especially I told you there are 2 types of business rule, right? So try to understand the difference between definitional and behavioral and be prepared. So this question, this is like a technique based question. Again, you need not go through anything. So here they're giving you a diagram and then they're asking you what type of diagram this is.
Data flow diagram.
Okay. Data flow diagram, let's check. Perfect. So because in data flow diagram there are 2 notations, you can see this is Gaussian notation, I guess. So let's do one more question. Okay, okay, I'll skip this, because for this question you cannot answer from here. You will have to read the context and only then you will be able to answer it. Okay, how about this question? Guys, this is something which you need to answer within a minute.
Measure solution performance.
Okay, let's check. Perfect. Because defining the performance measure is an element of the task measure solution performance. So the point which I wanted to make is you will get at least 6 case study based questions wherein it can go for 2 or 3 pages. Don't waste your time reading the context or just skim over for 10 or 15 seconds. Go directly to the question and try to answer it, because the question will be in this form. It will not be related to that. So the reason why they give you all these diagrams is to kill your time. So don't start. I mean, when you start your test, if you the very moment when you get this kind of question, bookmark it. Try to complete all the small questions, and only when you complete all the small questions, you can come back and answer all the case-led. So, and pro tip is, we don't waste your time reading it. Go directly to the question. Only when you feel that like there is no available information, then you start reading it. So that's what I wanted to. That's all about. I wanted to give you guys. So I believe in this 1 hour. I mean, all we got is like only 1 hour for this session. In this 1 hour, to an extent, I believe I was able to add some inputs for your certification journey. So maybe if you have any open questions, I'll be able to answer. And if you guys have any feedback also, I'll be able to take.